Welcome back. Rise up Saturday morning with this guy, Alexander, and the pup, Sophia. Today I feel this call to talk about the mind. The mind is so much greater, so much more powerful than the credit that we give to it. It's responsible for how we interpret our feelings. It's responsible for the patterns that we create in our lives. It's responsible for our imagination, some of our memories. And they say the mind is a terrible thing to waste. Many people live in a trap constructed within and around their own mind, constrained by the limitations of past experience that has led to limiting beliefs from external sources that expect and desire for you to follow along. The mind is non-local, meaning there's no one point in which the mind exists. The mind is everywhere, and at a certain degree, it is universal. Whether you can access the universal mind, well, depends on the beliefs within the mind that you operate. The mind is a visual instrument. It sees imagery. It's able to put together entire stories, remember archetypes, project fantasies. In the breathwork visualization exercise where I had you turn the hourglass, perhaps you put your hand out as I did and physically turned it. Or perhaps you saw it somewhere in your mind's eye. Maybe it was really, really big. Maybe it was really, really small. Maybe it was above your head. Maybe it was somewhere else. When you say a word like hourglass, any minds that have had past experience of that can call to the mind's eye the idea of an hourglass. There it is, right there. You can see the shape, you can see the feeling, you can see the texture, you can see the sand inside of it. Though if a mind has never seen or heard of an hourglass, no image comes to bear. Emptiness, void. Someone can describe it to you. Well, it's like an enclosed glass bottle with a really thin point in the middle, in conical shape, where you put sand inside and then you can flip it. You can build an image. But if you've never experienced it, seen it, been around it, it doesn't exist for you in your mind. So in the same way as our mind being a tool that allows us to expand and see beyond, we can imagine things. If it's not used to its greatest capacity, it is our strongest limiting factor. We're constrained by the limits of what the mind has seen, what the brain and body has experienced, and that becomes the boundary with which our world exists. The mind is said to be two components: your conscious and your subconscious. Your conscious being roughly 10% of the overall capacity, which is probably much less, right? Less than 1%. And this is your thinking mind, your active mind. This is the perceiving mind. This is the part of the mind that is very strictly tied to the egoic self, the I aspect. Then there's the subconscious mind, which is this deep, endless pool of collected imagery, emotions, thoughts, feelings that have been gathered and held, that are called upon in every moment. And this subconscious mind is this wellspring of knowledge, and also it's where, well, your true power lies. It's this support structure that creates the world around you. One of my favorite books that really opened up my understanding in a very simplistic way was The Power of the Subconscious by Dr. Joseph Murphy. And in this book, he goes to great length talking about the power of priming the subconscious mind and how it responds to every single conscious command, every conscious question, every conscious request is met with a response. It goes somewhere and is received and is responded to in some regard. And for me, reading this book was a powerful awakening of my conscious awareness of the power of words, the power of thoughts, and why they should be directed to greater purpose. Why they should be not thrown around without care for the contents, without concern for their meaning. As a child, you think childishly and you think words are just words. Car is just a car, tree is just a tree, dog is just a dog. And words are just words. I say them and they're funny. I say them and they get reactions from people. I say them and they hurt people. But words are just words. But as an adult, well, we give up childish things. And we start realizing that there's much more to it. There's far more to it. And I grew up speaking English. And as I've been doing more research and just, can't even call it research, it's just curiosity. It's just books I read, and you don't even know what is in that book that's going to be the useful detail that you take away. And there was a book handed to me recently. The name doesn't come to me at the moment. I believe it's my realizations and experiences over the last 30 years. And it said a couple things. Well, it said a lot of things. Though there was one statement that truly hit me directly, which was the word and the meaning of atonement. Atonement. And having grown up in a Christian environment, going to church on Christmas and Easter, you hear of this term, this word, atonement. But the pronunciation of it can be emphasized differently in order to arrive at a different realization. And in this case, it was at one ment. Same spelling, Atonement. But instead of atonement, to atone, at one. That's a different emphasis that leads to a different connotation. Now, why does that strike me as so interesting? So I was looking up Mandarin as a language, and Mandarin is immensely complicated compared to English, and English speakers find it quite difficult, mostly because of its tonal nature. Meaning, the same spelt word and sign expressed with different tonal intonation arrives at completely different meanings. For example, ma, 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 all have different meanings. I think one means money, one means mother, one means horse. I don't speak Mandarin. But the interesting analysis there is that English is an atonal language. It's not so much about how you say it. It's more about what you say. Dog is dog is dog is dog is dog. Hate is hate is hate is hate, hate, hate. Love, 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 love. So for this reason, it matters greatly the words that you choose. Beyond the feeling and thought of what your intention is, the words that you choose. And we go to school in the West, and we have our core curriculum. And in elementary school, when they start teaching you the alphabet, after that comes spelling, spelling, putting together sounds to spell words. These words have power. And it's amazing how it's woven through our educational curriculum to give us this innocuous understanding, this benign belief that, well, it's just, spelling. Yeah, we spell words. But then you go and watch the Disney movies, and you go and watch the TV shows, and they talk about witches and wizards casting spells. It's right there in front of your face. It's been right under your nose the entire time. It's just you've been seeing this word in this context. And yeah, this word also applies in that context, but we don't draw those connections. We see them as completely unique, separate, different. There's a connection there. And I bring it back to the subconscious mind with English in particular. As an atonal language, the words that you select to speak into the world is casting the spells of your conscious mind. And where does that go? It goes into your subconscious. And from there, it ruminates, and it gestates, and it responds. We have very little relationship with this. We like to say, or I've heard many times, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Well, it's both. It's both. The importance of what you say and allow to come out of your system, the thoughts that you think, the words that you project, the emotions that you tie to them, and how you express it matter. But the how you say it is more about feeling. So what emotion have you tied to it? Remember, English is an atonal language, but you can still attach emotion, emphasis to the words that you speak by how you speak them. Are they being spoken from the heart? With love, caring, tender, kindness, forgiveness? Or are they being spoken from somewhere lower? Greed, anger, lust, desire. Even lower than that. Hatred, vitriol, disgust. Are they being spoken from the mind? Just trying to be thoughtful. These are important variations to consider that they weren't taught to me. They weren't shared with me. I was doing all of these things and getting responses from the world around me and from within me. But no one ever sat me down to explain how the magic works. Who are you talking to when you pray? Why you should speak nicely to yourself. Why you should practice loving yourself. Why you should learn to forgive yourself. Who is listening when you speak to yourself under your breath? The conscious and subconscious combination of your mind makes it as if there was a silent passenger within you. A silent passenger. Someone who's always listening, taking notes, and acting on your wishes. And that silent passenger, your subconscious inner child, your higher self, if you will, is communicating with you. It's trying to get something through to you. But at the same time, it's listening for the feedback loop of the information that you are projecting into the world. The thoughts and the vibrations that you are creating. So when you speak good things, it's not just a matter of programming yourself to say positive things so that you feel more positive or you're filling more of your airwaves with positivity. It's a matter of programming yourself to get into of providing yourself with positive support. Because you're taking your 1, 5, 10% of your conscious awareness and capturing that and being consciously aware to the point where you're choosing and feeling good things to cast those into the world so that they are received by your silent passenger who takes notes. Says, oh, you enjoy this. This makes you happy. Great. Okay. Oh, this makes you smile. This gets you excited. Okay. Great. Okay. This is something that they're listening. And they're going to reinforce whatever it is that you've been casting into the world. And this is just one part of this feedback loop. Right? Your silent passenger is also watching the content that you watch. When you consciously get sucked into wanting to watch some movie or listen to some music, your silent passenger is getting way more than what you're getting. They're hearing the aggressive, negative, over and undertones of that song that you like, that just bumps. When you really stop and think about the lyrics, it's all negativity. It's all low vibrational, negative, destructive, separation noise. But you like the song. Oh, this song sounds so good, it gives me goosebumps. But then your silent passenger, your subconscious mind, is hearing everything. It's collecting all of those negative impulses, those negative signals. I don't want to pick on any genre of music, but you know what I'm talking about. It's going in there and being received, and it's going into the overall conscious soup, subconscious soup, to be served up when you consciously least expect it, to come back to you when you say something, you're like, why did I just say that? Where did that come from? Well, it came from something you heard, or something you watched, or something you consumed, something you connected with that was picked up along the way. You weren't consciously aware of. So the things that you see, things that you eat, things that you touch, things that you hear, all lead to this amalgamated subset of information that has an impact on what you think and what you feel. My personal understanding of an intention, when we get to talking about manifestation and how we manifest things into our life, I've talked about this before. But in my research, the power of manifestation is by mixing a thought and a feeling. By synchronizing your heart, your emotion, with your head, your idea. And this is why people end up in scenarios where they bring into their life things that they don't actually want, things that they don't like. It's a mechanism of an emotion, fear, mixed with an idea I don't want. And as I mentioned earlier, the mind is a imagery machine. It uses archetypes and patterns and physical constructs in order to sort of develop its thought process. Even blind people see things in their head to construct the world around them. Never seen anything, but still there's patterns, there's shapes, there's structures, there's whatever it feels like will fit in there. So when you're talking about subconsciously bringing things into your life that you do want, it's important to focus on the positive, the affirmative. Be direct. While I was traveling in India, you're around other conscious seekers. So you get this vibratory reinforcement of the people around you, and you feel this degree of safety, this degree of kinship. And I remember sitting down with one of my friends and listening to what she was saying. And it resonated with me. And she said something that, well, I think many people were saying at the same time, which is, I'm afraid to go home, or I don't want to go home, because I'm afraid that I'll revert back to my baser patterns. And when she said this to me, I kind of stopped for a moment and I was like, did you just hear what you said? Like, we're here talking about how to improve and understand our subconscious space and bring that more into our conscious awareness. And we have all done it. We fall into these little traps. And in that moment, it clicked for her. She was like, wait a second, you're right. I'm saying I don't want to go home, so that means the imagery is only home. And then fear, lower vibrational energy, of going back to a pre-established previous pattern. That's all the imagery your subconscious receives. Home, previous pattern, fear. That's emotion, location, and thought. It's everything you need to go straight back there. As a visual instrument, negation is very difficult. Something that doesn't exist, doesn't exist. But something that does exist, and saying not this, doesn't give the mind something else to latch onto. So all it sees is this. Not snakes. We've talked about this before. You say floor. Okay. Not snakes. You still get snakes. So when we start to understand more of how our mind works, we can start taking back control over the little piece of conscious awareness that we do have on a daily basis. And that means setting up our day for success. When we have a plan for the day, focusing on the positives. If we have a goal that we want to set, focusing on how it will come to be, what it will be like when it's done, where you're going to go, and what it will feel like when you get there. And this goes into your silent passenger. Okay, we're going here, and it's going to feel great. And with that, you don't need to worry about the actual details of the individual steps to get there. Those will begin to unfold, and you will start taking them. But the words that we choose, are important. Looking into where some of them are coming from, figuring out a way to consciously circumvent them. Here's a word in the English language that has become more problematic for me. Understanding. Understanding. You're like, yeah, understanding is good. Well, when is being under anything actually a good thing? Under protection? Maybe. I'd like to be overprotected. But I started seeing a replacement for this, which is inner standing. Inner standing. And you see how that little shift of conscious decision making of the words that you choose in your day-to-day has an impact. It has a shift in your conscious perception. And what does that relate to your silent passenger? He goes, oh, there's an internal sense of knowing rather than a over the top something standing over me. Now, thinking about the language that we choose is the first step to taking more control consciously of our mind. It wants to go in all these different directions and is attracted to all these different things because of all of these sensations it's picked up on. But the mind just has to be constrained. It has to be given proper patterns, proper routines that we consciously establish that work for no one but you. And as you establish these conscious patterns, you reinforce them with positive thoughts and positive feelings, moving towards some ultimate goal. Not just doing the routine for the sake of doing the routine, but growing towards something. Having some distant objective that we're excited about. Could be a trip, could be a state of being, could be seeing someone, could be going to some place you've never been before, making something you've never made before. And the more that that objective is outside of your past experience, the better. It has to be a reach. And if it's not a reach, it's because you're playing within your comfort zone. And this is once again your mind's constraints setting up the boundaries of your reality. Say, oh, I've done this before. This works. This is safe. This is who I am. And there's your silent observer. Okay. We're staying right here. We're doing this. We're going to and you end up maintaining this little. Your mind is truly limitless, unbound. And as you begin to start to believe that and work that into your conscious awareness, your silent passenger goes, okay, yeah, I hear you, I got you. Starts to reinforce that. Practice. Every moment of every day is an opportunity to practice more mindfulness. And as we collect these little grains of sands of accomplishment, eventually, you have a little bit of cultivated awareness, more than you had yesterday. Bit by bit, day by day. There's so much more. There's so much more. There are people around this planet who are truly able to think of and open up to the possibility of miracles. Miracles that are only miracles in the sense of our limited beliefs and limited understanding of how the world operates. When we see them do things, they're miracles to us. But to them, it's Tuesday. I've seen it with my own eyes. I've heard many countless stories, and so have you. But just like spelling has been taught to us in school and taught to us in a way to strip away the true power of what's inside of it, this idea of miracles is taught to us like this far distant past phenomena. We're like, oh, those people were able to do it back then. You know who they are. But that's once again the boundaries of your mind that have been established, that only you can take the time to acknowledge, are just set up there for you to either acknowledge them and get rid of them, or move past them, blow them away. They're there for you, that you've established for some reason to keep you safe, contained, protected in your comfort zone. One more sort of mind expansion experience I had recently was a friend of mine. We were chatting, and he goes to me, he goes, Alex, do you think angels actually have wings like a bird? And it hit me in that moment. I was like, oh, that's actually a very astute point. We're so used to seeing these patterns. Oh, angels and this and that, and they look like this, look like that, that we forget that those are constrained, limited views that if we get too attached to them or too enamored by them, they end up constraining us, getting us to think a certain way, that this isn't possible unless these attributes are present. It becomes quite dangerous, because then you've lost a lot of your autonomy. You've lost your ability to see beyond. So it's important to reclaim our mind. Take responsibility of how it works. Do our best to move it towards the positive direction, filling it with good thoughts, good feelings, and then let our silent passenger take note. Oh, okay. Looks like we're thinking and feeling good today. Oh, okay. I think I'll give a little bit more of that. I'll give you more to think and feel good about, and let that reinforcement start. Oh, it looks like we're thinking a little bit outside the box today. Maybe we'll expand our thinking a little bit more. What more is possible? Only you can find out. So that's it for today. Have a great week. We'll see you soon. Sophia. We're done. Oh, big stretch. Yeah, I know how you feel. Thanks for joining. See you next time.